do not have close substitutes. So there's not a lot of competition in monopoly market. So there's usually no competition or very little. So in this case, the reason why monopolies come up are because of high barriers to entry. So it's very hard to get in the market. So, for example, De Beers, they owned the key resource of diamonds, while not many other companies did. So De Beers had 80% of the diamonds in the world because they control 80% of the supply. So that would be a potential monopoly, and then government created. So monopolies can arise because the government grants one person or one firm the exclusive right to sell one good or service. So it could be created by the government. So public transit is a monopoly. It's provided by the government, so they can control the price. If it was provided by a private company, there would be no price controls. So the government can control the price. Natural monopoly is when one single firm can supply a good or service to the entire market at a smaller cost than two or more firms. So that would be power, water, anything like that. So electricity, water are natural monopolies. There's no competition. So the monopoly, so the competitive firm, so if you're in a perfectly competitive market, you can sell as much as you want at your current price, but a monopoly has to lower the price of the product to sell more. So that's the difference. Perfect competition, if it's a perfectly competitive market, they can sell as much as they want at that price, while for a monopoly, they'll have to lower price to sell more. So monopoly is the sole producer, faces a downward sloping demand curve as a price maker, reduces price to increase sales. Competitive firm is one of many producers, faces a horizontal demand curve as a price taker, sells as much or as little at the same price. So monopoly, to maximize profit from monopoly, you set marginal revenue equal marginal cost. So that's how to maximize profit. So they set marginal revenue equal to marginal cost to maximize profits. So that's very key. So that's where you want to set your production, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, and that will maximize your profit as a monopoly. So the problem with the monopoly is that it's going to lead to efficiency losses in the economy because the price can be too high for consumers. So many consumers won't be able to buy the product anymore because it's too high. So that will lead to an efficiency loss in the economy because the consumers will lose out of this. So some consumers will be able to buy it, but not all consumers will be able to buy the products. So there will be a lot of loss in the economy, and this will lead to efficiency losses. So monopolies, the high price of monopolies can be bad for consumers, which will lead to efficiency losses. So public policy towards monopolies. Policymakers can respond to the problem of monopoly in one of four ways. Competition laws can be used to encourage competition and discourage the use of monopolistic practices. So there's this thing called antitrust that the government sues for if are monopolies currently. So Microsoft was sued for antitrust in the past, and when they become monopolies, the government tries to intervene in a lot of cases to reduce the amount of power the monopoly has. So they can go forward and pursue legal action against the company. So that's what governments do if they believe that the company is a monopoly, because monopolies are negative for the consumer. So also you can regulate monopolies. So, for example, one of the things that the government does is that the government of Ontario owns Metrolinx, which owns the GO train, and then each city owns their specific public transit, so they can keep prices affordable. So that's the benefit if they own it, if they can keep prices affordable. However, if it was a private company owning these things, the prices would not be affordable. So they can do that. So public ownership is a way that they can do that. And then also they can regulate monopoly and ensure that there are price controls in place so they don't charge too high of a price for consumers. So what price discrimination is when each consumer is charged a different price because of their willingness to pay for the product. So they may charge different consumers different prices based on how much they want the product. So this does happen a lot of the time with insurance pricing. So it can happen in movie and airline tickets, discount coupons, financial aid for needy students, quantity discounts. So they can charge more if people have a higher income, for example. They can charge more if people want it more. They can charge less when people have a lower income. They can charge more when they're at higher risk of a car accident, for example. So they can figure out what price to charge based on your willingness to pay. So think of any other examples. So those are good examples. They can change the prices depending on how much people are going to pay for the product or service. So I recommend to do the textbook questions, mind top activities, and quiz 3. And then, monopolies, we got through that. Monopolies are good for the company. They're great for investors because you can maximize profits, but they're bad for the consumer. So in the next unit, we'll go through the other market structures.